I'm Charlie Bright of Gold Derby, and today I'm speaking with Ellen Goosenberg Kent, one of the filmmakers behind Afghan Dreamers, as part of our Meet the Experts panel for TV documentaries, which is currently available to stream on Paramount Plus. First question I wanted to ask you, Ellen, is how long did you spend filming the Afghan Girls robotics team?
Okay, we started in 2019 and continued, I would say we were there for about 9 months.
You're there, so you were actually, and you were there for 9 months, but but you had people there filming after you were after you had finished there, correct?
Well, the person who did the filming is a wonderful producer named Beth Murphy. So she was there, and she was there for an extended period of time working on that and doing some research.
And one of what I was trying to get towards is that at the end of the movie, you talk about how you were talking about your crew that were facing a lot of danger because, of course, a lot of them were filming during the withdrawal, the American withdrawal from there, and the subsequent Taliban takeover. What were some of the dangers that your crew faced in the midst of filming there?
Well, you know, when we started filming, there was already violence happening in the country. I mean, you know, it is a violent place, and, you know, bombs were going off because, you know, the Taliban was, you know, sort of poised to take over. If you recall, this was a time when Trump had announced that we were going to withdraw and he was going to negotiate with the Taliban rather than with the Afghan government. So there was a lot of turmoil and a lot of violence there. And, you know, it is, when we decided to do the film, one of the things that we agreed was that if anyone on the team, and the team was all Afghan, you know, including a fixer, a translator, a driver, if anyone thought that there was any danger to the girls at any time, we were going to stop filming, right? And even filming these girls put them in danger in some way because it called even more attention to them. And so, you know, it was a scary proposition, and our fixer was taken into custody and questioned about what he was doing during the filming. And so that was a hair-raising moment where, you know, we just didn't know. We were gone before the Taliban took over and the government fell. So you know, none of our team was there, but the footage that you saw, some of it was, I shouldn't say none of our team was there. One person was there who is now safely in this country, and I won't name him, but he had the cell phone footage that you see at the end and some of the other footage. So he was there. In fact, he was helping to evacuate some of the families of the girls. When I say Afghan Dreamers, that's the name of the Afghan all-girls robotics team.
So, how did you first how did you first learn about this very impressive group of young women and what they were doing out in Afghanistan in their travels?
So, this was a memorable thing because in 2017 they were seeking a visa to come to this country to compete in the first robotics competition, and they were denied that visa. This was during a Muslim ban. And even though Afghanistan wasn't among the Muslim countries named, these girls were refused entry. And had it not been for the intervention of some 24 lawmakers who said they're not terrorists, this is exactly the kind of you know, thing that we should be promoting. Like, these young women are the future of the country. Give them a visa. And eventually they did get a visa. That story sort of stuck with me. And then just coincidentally, a couple of years later, I guess they had thought about making a documentary. They reached out to a couple of people who sheltered them in this country when they were here, gave them places to stay. And they wanted to make a documentary, and they wanted to interview filmmakers. And I got the phone call. And of course, I thought it was a great idea.
It's when they finally arrive in the US, I was looking at the airport and I was like, that looks like Dulles. And then I saw some of the writing on some of the things. I was like, nope, that's Dulles.
Yes. Yes, their first competition was in DC.
Yep, at DAR,
Yep.
where I actually graduated high school.
Uh-huh.
At the end of the movie, you also state that those young women are no longer in Afghanistan, but their locations are not known to the public. I'm curious though, have you managed to somehow stay in touch with them, or have heard from them since this film was completed? And do you know of any of their current situations are right now, without obviously revealing any information that might be hurtful to them?
Well, we didn't want to reveal any information, but they did. So they've announced where they are. And so it isn't a secret anymore. So of there are 3 women that we feature extensively, but there were other members of the team. And they are all over the place. 3 of them are in, of all places, Ireland, because this was, there was housing available for them. There was a school willing to take them, etc. One is here and going to school here in this country. And some of the other women are elsewhere. We stay in touch with them all the time. In fact, they sent us a tape, with a message that they wanted to share, speaking in beautiful English, which they were, their English was not great. They certainly were not fluent in English when we were filming them. The film is in Dari, translated. But they are, they have come, really a long way in that regard, and they are safe, but they are not reunited with their families. And that is heartbreaking. They sent us a tape, which we played at a screening, and it was just really great to see them.
And they're all continuing their education in their respective locations.
Well, they are, but they, I just learned last night that they are going to get scholarships to come to Massachusetts, to Boston, to go to college. So I'm very happy for them that they'll finally get the education that they dreamed of. They won't get their dream of going back to Afghanistan to be leaders, at least not anytime in the foreseeable future. But I certainly hope a time comes when they can go back.
Have they been, I know you said they haven't been able to be reunited with their families. Have they been able to have any contact with their families since then?
They definitely talk to them and Zoom with them, but, they're not, the families are in the United States and the girls are in Ireland. And even within the United States, one of our girls is in Minnesota and her parents are elsewhere. So, it is expensive and difficult. And, I'm happy that they're not in refugee camps, that they are, they're living there, well, and they are able to be continuing their education, though not as they hoped.
It's almost, to me, a little bit mind-blowing when I was watching this movie, realizing that it's been almost 2 years since the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And it can sometimes feel very hard to try and find anything positive. Do you feel like there are any signs of hope right now for other young girls hoping to receive an education in Afghanistan, or is that just looking very bleak right now?
Well, I don't know the real inside story because we don't have the sources that we used to have there. I think it's bleak right now. I don't think we have a lot of leverage. And I think that the Taliban made some promises that they were going to respect women's rights and girls' rights. And then the first thing they did was to close schools or forbid girls older than 12 from going to school. Then they closed pre-college programs to girls. Then they, refused to allow women to be part of NGOs or, organizations, aid and help organizations. So, they have really pulled back on all of the rights that women had. We were able to capture this golden moment when girls, who were born when there were no rights, they grew up. They're about 17 years old as we film them. They're finishing up high school, and they are I mean, it is a very repressive culture, but they are able to drive. They are able to go to school. They built their robots in sort of an abandoned, if you will, airplane hangar someplace outside of Herat, because it really wasn't safe to be doing it where people could see them. And so, they were transported to this other location where they worked in secret and built their robots. It's interesting that this isn't in the film, but there's something that I would love to say, and that is that when each team that participates in this robotics competition gets a box of materials and an assignment. So everybody gets the same raw materials to build their robot from. And when the box arrived, it was confiscated. And while the girls should have had 4 months to prepare, they had something like 4 weeks the first time, because it was like, what is this stuff, and why are these girls getting it, and et cetera, et cetera. So luckily that changed over time, but I mean, it was a tough place to be, but they had wonderful opportunities, and it was a very inspiring story we set out to tell.
Well, Ellen, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you on our panel in just a little bit.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Take care.